What we're talking about here is never doing business with your family. Having the discussion with your mother, hypothetically speaking. I've heard this story too. I love my mother. She passed away a few years ago. I have ultimate respect for her. But her and I clashed on a few occasions. And this was one of those things. This little leaded glass antique window that she bought. So real property are the things that are permanently attached that typically stay with the home. When I sell it, it's the driveways and the home and the drywall and the windows and the light fixtures and all that stuff. Things that most people would probably assume stays with the home. Personal property are your own personal effects, your clothing, your furniture, your car, stuff like that that you can take. Sometimes we don't always agree on what that is though. And that's the big issue with figuring some of this stuff out. So Mom, back in 1995, asked me to build her a home down in Morgantown. Beautiful Victorian style home, 7,000 square feet, it was ridiculous. I built it for her because I was a dutiful son and I loved her and she loved the home. One of the things that she asked me to do in building that was she bought this leaded glass window. And it wasn't always in this frame that you see here, because that would have been too easy. She wanted me to incorporate it into the wall, not attached to the wall, in the wall. So that way you could see through it, kind of like a window, like you would frame a window in. She wants this in a space right above her bedroom door. So you have the main entry to the master bedroom, you have the header up there, and right above that header is this thing, all built in. It was a pain in the ass to frame and get it in there right and all that. And again, I mentioned it was antique, so this thing's 100 years old, so it's not, it's fragile. You don't just throw it up there. You place it and don't breathe on it too hard and get it all set up there and framed it, and we did it. You happy, Mom? Yes. Best son ever. I remind my brother of that all the time. Good, everything's all great and everything like that. 5, 7 years later, something like that, Mom says, I want to sell the home now. Right, I'd like you to represent us. I'd like for you to list the home for sale. Great. And one of the questions I always ask is, what's included in the sale? What are you going to include? You're going to include the appliances. Are you including any tractors, anything like that? What all is included in the sale? Yeah, we're going to include this, we're including that and all that. But I'm not going to sell this. Mom, let me have a discussion with you about real property and personal property. That thing's permanently attached. It functions as a window. Most people are going to expect that that's going to stay because that looks like real property to me. I don't care. Okay, Mom, I love you. What do you want me to do here? Well, I don't want it to stay. I said, well, anytime that somebody tells me that they're going to take something out of the home, I always suggest let's remove it. Because I don't want there to be a dispute over, well, you didn't tell me it wasn't staying or that it was staying, or having some argument over it. Let's just remove it to eliminate that discussion. I don't want to do that. I love that thing. I love seeing it every morning. The sun shines in, and it puts the little prisms down on the ground and splits it up. I see all these little rainbows and all that everywhere like that. All right, Mom, let me explain to you the psychology of buyers. Anytime you tell somebody that you cannot have that thing, almost invariably they say, I want it now. Before, I probably didn't care. If you hadn't said anything, you want to take it, fine, whatever, I don't care. But if you don't want to include this thing in the sale, we have to disclose that to a buyer and tell them, you don't get that. And people get infantile, and I want it. So I had to have that discussion with her. So after all this, and this was a legitimate discussion that we had, that we agreed that we would remove it. I replaced the window at great cost and bloody knuckles and all that to remove that window, and we put up a piece of plain glass in that space. And any future buyer was not aware of it.
So you removed it prior to listing?
Correct. And so I built this frame for her, put it into the home that you see in here now, and it sits there as we speak. And it's always a reminder from my mother, even though she's not here anymore, of how much she loved me and how much I can't stand dealing with family and real estate. So every time I go over and see Dad now, I see this thing, and it's right there at the front entry. It's right there. It smacks me right in the face. I love you, Mom. I do.